All right, folks, welcome to the runningrestaurants.com podcast, where we bring you the tips, tools, and techniques you need to make your restaurant more profitable and successful. I'm your host, Jaime Oikle. Today, got a great episode for you with Brett Linkletter, CEO of Dishio, which is a restaurant AI tech company. And I love this stuff. Brett, you guys are in hot and sexy segment for sure. So give a quick overview, and I'm going to just really kind of probe you from there.
Okay, perfect. So I'll kind of start from the beginning. So I've been doing this we're working with restaurants the last 11 years. It's all that we know. And it's interesting because the industry has evolved quite a bit over the last, I'd say 2 to 3 years because of AI. When we first got started 11 years ago, we were simply a restaurant marketing agency. And in the early days, we just wanted to find a way where we could do marketing for restaurants and prove that the marketing worked. That was like literally it. Because I think the big problem in this industry is you have a lot of brands that are spending money on marketing, thousands of dollars every single month, and they can't actually see that what they did actually got them a return, right? They're spending thousands on Meta platforms, Google platforms, etc., but they literally can't see that it actually worked. So the first thing was, how can we just prove this out? And the model we were working off to prove it out was, if I look at, for example, the e-commerce industry for comparison.
Sure.
If I want to sell a pair of sunglasses online and the glasses cost $100 and I can run it out on Instagram and acquire a customer for every $10 I spend, well, minus product cost, that's a 10x return. Like, that's pretty good. And assuming that I can keep doing that, I should raise the budget, keep spending, and scale the brand. Well, the restaurant space, they can't do that, right? They can't just scale ad budgets and make more money. And so we're like, if we can just apply what we did, I did e-commerce actually even before that. If we can apply the e-commerce principles to the restaurant space, we could solve a pretty major problem. And so we did that about 10 years ago. And now as AI has evolved into what like everyone's everyday lives, basically, it's become even more exciting. And so now we're using AI in ways that, were never possible just a couple of years ago. But for example, we can create customized ad campaigns that are specific to customers based upon order behavior, visit behavior, and a lot of other sectors. And I think that's really where the world is going, is like we're moving towards a world of super personalization. And I'm sure we'll talk a lot about that today as far as how that works. But that's kind of the gist. That's how I got into this space. That's why I'm excited about this space. I think this space is like, it's interesting because it's changing so much, but it's still so far behind other industries like e-commerce. Like what I'm talking about is completely common in e-commerce. And when I talk to potential new leads that want to work with us, they've never heard of anything like this. So it just shows how old school this industry still is, though.
Yeah, I wrote down a bunch of notes there, and I want to come back to a number of that stuff. But what you just said most recently is factually proven out over time that restaurants are usually behind the curve of tech adoption and usage. But what we're seeing hot and heavy in the this last 2-year stretch for sure is tools like you guys and others that are like just ramping up the ability of tech to answer questions that you couldn't really put your finger on before, or you couldn't do quickly. And so that's been fascinating stuff. So I wrote down the proven that it works. That is one of the biggest questions. And you obviously, you know that, right? Like, if I spend money, is it going to work? Because restaurants have been burned so many times. $5,000 magazine glossy ad, and did it work? Like, what are some things that are actually working today to know, yes, spent money, brought people in, had return?
So, okay, it's hilarious because let me to also just paint the picture on this a little bit more. A lot of people don't even think it's possible. I'll just come out and say that because I've spoken to big brands like 50 plus locations where their CMOs do not think it's possible to track the return on investment from ads. So I just want to preface the answer with this because a lot of people don't think it's possible. And I want to say 100% it is. Now, let me tell you the best ways to do it, right? So personally, let's just start with Google and Meta, the two biggest platforms to run ads, right? The way that I look at Google is like you're going to the library. You have a book in mind that you want to buy. You're interested in buying, I don't know, some book on marketing or self-help. So you go to that section of the library, You go to alphabetic order to find the book, you get the book and you leave, right? So the intent on purchase is very high on Google's platform. So someone's literally searching on the internet, I want to find a good cheeseburger nearby. So the cool thing about Google, and honestly, in some ways, I prefer Google to Meta, is Google also owns Google Maps, obviously, right? There is a way on Google where you can literally track store visits. You can literally see the moment sees an ad or clicks on an ad, clicks to Google Maps to get directions, and actually arrives at your restaurant. The problem is, in order to unlock this feature, you do have to spend a pretty significant amount of spend, like hundreds of thousands of dollars. And so a lot of restaurants don't have access to be able to do that because they're just not meeting those minimum spends. What we do as a company is, because we're an agency / software company, we've spent over 60 million in ad spend. So we have really, really close relationships with Google, with Meta, et cetera. So we've unlocked very special features that give us the ability to do some of these more advanced marketing tactics. So look, if you're a pretty major restaurant, let's say 40, 50, 100 plus stores, and you're spending enough budget, you might be able to unlock that for yourself. But for a lot of more like independent operators or smaller chains, like, you're just never going to have that unless you work with someone like us. That's Google's side. On Meta, it's different, right? So Meta, I always tell people, it's like you're going to the mall. You're like, it's a Sunday, you're going with your family, maybe your friends. You don't really know what you want to do, but you're just trying to burn time at the mall. You're walking to the mall. Some store looks kind of cool. You walk in there. If I'm with my wife, we walk by a Sephora. She's going to Sephora. That's just what she likes, whatever she wants to get her makeup. And then, hey, we're hungry. Let's go to the food court. Which restaurant looks good? Great. They have a line. They look probably like in high demand, so they're probably good. Let's go, right? That's like your Instagram newsfeed. You don't really know why you're going to Instagram. You just go there to kind of burn some dopamine, and you're like scrolling your newsfeed, whatever. So the intent on purchase is actually a little bit lower on Instagram and Meta's platforms, but the benefit also is that you get to show pictures, videos, more media, things like that. And so typically we like to use Google for a way of acquiring new customers, and we love to use Meta as a way of keeping customers coming back through retargeting ads. But by all means, it depends on the brand, right? We've flip-flopped that for other clients. It just depends on the brand. Now, as it relates to Meta, though, you can't do the exact same store visit tracking like Google. But what you can do in our platform is you're going to have the ability very soon to run ads and track ads that go through a reservation system like ours. We're launching a reservation platform in the next, like, literally 30 days. Super excited about it, by the way.
Good.
Super excited. So you can track it through there. The second way you can track it is if someone sees an ad on Instagram, we actually have one of our conversion metrics as scanning a QR code in the restaurant. So imagine a world where you run an ad on Instagram, someone sees the ad, clicks the ad, comes into the restaurant, scans a QR code menu, and it tracks the conversion when they arrive. So those are basically three ways: Google store visit tracking, tracking through a reservation being made and someone showing up, and then tracking through a QR code conversion. So
yeah, good. Thanks for going through that. Cause yeah, it seems a little tech heavy, and you still feel like, okay, click, saw, but did they go in? Did they order? Did they come back? And now, so I want to go to that next piece of getting their information once they're in store. Of course, you can get it online as well, but let's talk about this customer who comes in, they eat, they order. A lot of times, and most times, because from my experience, this is what happens. Nobody collects my information and I'm gone. So that's a missed opportunity. So what can happen? What do you talk to folks about acquiring first party data? What should they be looking to collect? What should they do with it? What do you think?
Yeah. So as much as possible, right? Like if you're able to collect a first name, a phone number, and an email, great. But oftentimes you can't, right? Bare minimum, what we tell people is, I think data in general is something a lot of restaurant owners just don't quite understand. Like we are in the data gold rush. That's not something that's like coming. Like, data is gold. Like, if you can collect data on customers, meaning visit behavior, what dishes they're interested in, that they even came or not, that is super rich data that you can actually feed to these ad platforms so you can do retargeting. But here's the big problem. Most restaurants are not collecting any data on their customers. Hey, like, we want first party data. That's the best. But bare minimum, restaurant owners can't even see that someone was in their restaurant. Like, for example, let's say you're a restaurant and you're getting 4 or 5,000 customers a month. How many of those people do you actually know were first timers versus returning? How many of those people do you know, like, where do they even come from? Most restaurant owners have literally no idea. So yes, we want emails, phone numbers, first names, but bare minimum, like, let's just see that people actually came in and where they came from. So how do we do that? Well, relating back to an e-commerce example, if I'm going to go buy a pair of sunglasses, let's say I go to the website with some sunglass company, whatever. I click on the website. What happens when I click on that website? Well, if the brand is set up correctly, they're going to collect information on you. How do they do that? Google tags, metapixels. These are basically little codes that you put on your website. So when someone visits you, the website's like, hey, this person came here. It gives the advertiser, the brand, the ability to run a remarketing ad to you. So for example, I go to the website, I'm looking for sunglasses and I don't buy them. What happens if I leave the website without buying them? We've all seen this before. We start seeing ads of those same pair of sunglasses I was just looking at. It's called a retargeting ad or an abandoned cart ad, right? Why do they do this? Because they're trying to get you to buy the sunglasses, right? The problem with the restaurant space is everything's done in person. So how do we collect data on someone if the transaction is in person, not online? The answer is we love using QR codes because you come in, you scan a QR code, we make the physical now digital. And then to take it to the next level, collecting phone numbers or emails, within our product, we have what's called funnels. And funnels, if you're a marketer, maybe you're familiar with it. Maybe if you're not, basically what it is it's basically like a series of steps that we're trying to get someone to take to give us something. So you can create a funnel that's like, hey, give us your phone number and email, and we're going to give you a free appetizer on your next visit, a bounce back offer. Or give us your phone number and email, and you can enter some contest to get X, Y, or Z, whatever. So we love doing that stuff. We can do it from a QR code menu. We can do it from an offer in an ad online, just getting someone in for the first time. There's lots of things you can do, but basically, like, the holy grail is phone number and email, right? So I can do text marketing or email marketing after, but bare minimum, I want to at least collect data on them so I can retarget them with ads. I know that's maybe kind of complex, but that's
yeah, no, you walk through it very good. Because the classic example, like you said, is the e-commerce one that you search for in your example, sunglasses, and then all of a sudden, surprise, surprise, you keep seeing that ad around. I wrote down that visit behavior tracking it. So now let's assume the customer's kind of moved past stage one and they are collecting information on the customer visits. Now we know that Jane likes lunch and she likes hamburgers and she typically comes on the weekends. And so now that the database can have some rich data in there, and I'm sure you guys and others are taking that and using AI and other tech to query and send out an SMS at this time, an email at that time. Like, talk about where that flow is going, because it's getting really powerful, that aspect of it.
Yeah. So if we, it's interesting because we definitely love email marketing. Text marketing for us is something that we're actually like just starting to get more into. I mean, here's the reality. I know text marketing is super powerful. It is extremely powerful. If you have a great text list that you can text, it's amazing. We actually have one of our current employees was actually a past client of a brand called Zunzi's in Zunzibar, based in Georgia. And he had incredible success with text marketing. And so since he joined our company about like 4 or 5 months ago, he's been really pushing for it. And we are building in our platform the ability to text your customers. But honestly, we love running ads. Like, we have a lot of success with retargeting ads. Even more so than text marketing right now, because we're just really we're not pushing it that big. But I'll talk about advertising, remarketing, and specifically email. So with email marketing, right, you can set up automations in our platform where, let's just say someone opts in for some offer, whether they use it or not, they're going to get a series of emails, right? So if somebody uses an offer, maybe there's a second offer that comes to bring them back a second time or then a third time. And what we've found is if you can get someone to come to the restaurant just 3 times, you've generally speaking, you've earned them for life. That's just, I mean, I'm sure you've seen the same thing. That's just kind of the rule of thumb that we follow. On the advertising side, you want to think of it this way, is like, we want to get phone numbers and emails, not just for texting and emailing, but it's super rich data that I can send to these ad platforms to retarget people.
Sure.
So a lot of people don't know this, but like, for example, Meta knows your phone number. They know your email. And some people don't know this, but basically like the Meta pixel, which is the code that's tracking when someone visits your website, it's not always super accurate. Like, you know, when you go to a website these days and it says like, oh, like, am I okay to collect cookies on you or whatever?
Yep.
If someone says no, now we can't retarget you, right? So ideally, when we collect your phone or email, we basically take that information, we send it to Meta, we send it to Google, and it basically cross-references that phone number to an actual account on Instagram that now we can retarget.
Right.
So it sounds kind of crazy, and I hope this doesn't sound too complex for people listening, but we basically want to collect your phone or email more so that we can send it to the ad platforms, identify that specific person if the pixel didn't collect them, right, through the cookies, and now we can retarget them for whatever we need. So the way we approach it is I'm running ads for new acquisition all the time, right? Yep. But once someone comes through, they move to like another bucket of marketing where now I can retarget them for pennies. Because as we all know, acquiring a new customer versus getting someone to come back, it's way cheaper to get someone to come back, especially on the ad front too. So I mean, we have some brands where their audience is like hundreds of thousands of people that we can retarget. So with like a small budget of only like a couple $100 a month per store, you're reaching literally thousands upon thousands of people, and it doesn't feel intrusive. Like some people always say, like I don't want to do the text thing. It seems like it's annoying. Well, running ads for a small budget of $200-300 a month on retargeting is, first of all, it's cheap and it's so damn effective. And it almost feels like organic to some people versus like a text blast. You know what I mean?
It's not totally in your face. Like, it's directly coming to me. It's like, sure. Of course they're advertising out there. It makes sense. And I'm seeing it, but no, that makes sense. It's more organic. Yeah. I wrote down the phrase one visit, right? Like, and you talked about automation. Like, I would love to see a stat on how many times people visit a restaurant once. Because I visit a lot of places once. I want to go there. It's a new place, or I'm talking about not traveling, of course, but like where I live. Plenty of places to choose. A lot of places you go one time. They get that one opportunity, food, ambiance. And again, if they're not collecting the data, big missed opportunity, because now I just kind of forget about you. Okay.
Exactly.
So collect the data, right? You got to get past that one visit thing. You're spending a lot on the new acquisition. I love that you talked about this automation. So let's say they did do their job on my first visit. They collect my information, and automatically like 4 things are going to happen. And I'm just making up a number. Your system may do different things, but at least 4 things happen over the next 60 days. I get this, that, and that over 60 days. Like, that is programmed to happen. It doesn't matter if I go into the email system and I send out a newsletter on Tuesday, like those automations are going to happen. That's real important. I would say a lot of folks don't even do that. Do you think that's accurate?
I think so. It's this, I mean, it's sad, but most restaurant owners are doing literally nothing. I mean, there is no strategy. And I'm talking with brands that are doing sometimes 30, 40 million, 50 million a year. Yeah. We have one client, I don't want to say the name, but they have a single location in Miami doing 30 million a year. And there was zero marketing strategy before working with us. Zero.
Wow. Yeah.
They were not running ads. They were doing an email like once a month. There was nothing going on. And within the first 60 days, we generated another 1,500 reservations for them, because literally all we did was started collecting customer data for people walking in the restaurant. And all we did was retargeted that they should make another reservation. There was no offer. There was honestly nothing fancy to it. We just remarketed all these people. Hey, we'd love to see you again in an ad. Click here to make a reservation. And that's what we did. It's kind of crazy.
Well, it goes back to what I said, and what you just said is that as a person, I have 50 to 100 choices when I go out to eat, locally, and expand the radius. So how do I choose, right? How do I choose? And if you're talking about the restaurant you talked about, how I choose is like based on either what's in my head or what did I just see. And if they don't see your name anywhere, the chances it's not going to be you. So if if you don't have a team that's putting out a newsletter, fine, but you should be doing that. But like, if you just do what you're talking about, being, I see an ad, I see one on Instagram, I see one on Facebook, probably very likely it's, if I like the place, that I'm going to visit there sooner or more frequently than I would have otherwise. And that's what you
Yeah.
want as the operator. So
I mean,
I love that you guys are doing that.
Think about this, for example. Like, have you ever been to a restaurant, like literally ever, had a great experience, left, and then seen an ad on Instagram about them?
Zero, like zero for me.
Same for me, unless they're one of our clients. So, I mean, here's the thing. I just feel like a lot of people, they're always looking for some crazy strategy that's like so complex. And like it honestly, it's simpler than most people make it out to be. Like, all you really need to do is capture data so I have the ability to remarket to you. That's that. It's like, now here's what I will say to piggyback on that though. I think like the reason we're building a reservation platform right now is because I mean, I don't mind saying the names, but like Seven Rooms, for example, is not a great reservation system. And I say it's not great because I've run millions of dollars of ads towards Seven Rooms reservation pages, and they do not convert that well. And the reason they don't convert that well is because load speed on pages is slow. It might take 2 or 3 seconds to just load the tables that are available. That 2 or 3 seconds kills the conversion from an ad, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
The other thing is, like, if I look at like maybe OpenTable is better, I think, but you often have these fees that you have to pay, right, for it. So there's, I don't know. The reason we're doing it, honestly, is because for my company, the way that we get leads is we spend, about $100,000 a month on ads for our company. People then see our ads. They say, this sounds really cool. They book a call. And I'm tracking my cost per call. I'm tracking my cost per close. I'm tracking how every closer in my team performs. And so I have the metrics to understand that if I spend more money here or more money here, then we're going to get a return, or we're not going to get a return here. Restaurants need to think about it the same way, that when they're running ads, they need to look at the whole customer journey from beginning to end, right? So they need to be able to see that, hey, I spent $1,000 or $2,000 this month, and where was their drop off in customers? Oh, shoot, I got 5,000 people to get to my reservation page, but only 10 people booked. Something must be wrong with the reservation page, because people are getting that page, but then they're not making a reservation. What's wrong? And this is something that we're trying to help solve. We want to control that whole customer journey so we can own it and show our clients, hey, here's what happened. Here's the blockage. Here's the opportunity. Boom. Right.
I'm kind of fascinated by what you're talking about. I wasn't planning on going there, but I want to stay there, and perhaps we'll revisit it when you actually launch it. But is yours intended to be like, I would say OpenTable and the other, they're more portalish, like they have the portal aspect and it comes down, or are you guys just going to be, direct service? Like, it's just a service. I'm at the website of the restaurant and I'm reserving. I don't think I'm being clear what I mean, but is your goal to be a portal with the reservation ability, or to be a service for the restaurants to directly?
So we're gonna operate similarly to like how Seven Rooms does, where basically it's gonna be like a short code you can put on your website to just book a reservation. But so think of it this way. Our website is dish.io, right? And on our website, you can book a call, learn more about us, whatever. But 100% of my ad traffic, when I run ads, this is going to shock some people, we don't send any of that traffic to our website. Zero. So maybe you're thinking, well, what the hell? Like, why would you do that? Like, what's the point of having a website then? We drive all of that traffic to a separate website. That's our funnel. Yeah. And that funnel does one thing. It has one page with exactly what we do with our offer. It has a short 5-minute video talking about what we do for restaurants. And it has book a call. And then it has like some testimonials below to like build trust, right? Sure. But the intention of a funnel is to drive someone down a singular route, which for us is book a call, right?
Yep.
A restaurant website is so complicated. You have order online, make a reservation, do this, do that, check out our menu, blah, blah, blah. All these different things, which are distracting, which also hurt conversions. And so our page, our reservation system we're building is you're going to be able to build a singular funnel, which is for just making a reservation. Yes, on that page, if you want to view the menu, see what customers say, etc., we're going to build it similarly to how our funnel works. But basically, like, I mean, I've just been doing this for so long. I really practice what I preach. Like, I test it out on myself personally, even though my business model is different than a restaurant. There's so many similarities. Like I'm optimizing for book calls where a restaurant is optimizing for reservations. And the truth of the matter is other industries, this is like common practice. In the restaurant space, I bet you there's people listening to this podcast right now that have never heard anyone talk about this in their 30 plus years of business, ever. It's just not a thing. Like it's literally never been a thought ever in their heads, ever. They don't know what a good conversion rate means. They don't know any of these things. It's just not ever been a consideration. I mean, most restaurant owners, pretty much all they're doing, and it's funny, people tell me this all the time. We talk about what they're doing to drive in more customers, and they tell me word of mouth. Word of mouth, obviously people are talking about you. Great. That's incredible. Like, awesome. We want that. But can you scale that? No. Can you really control it? No. Is it truly a marketing strategy? Absolutely not. Right? So I'm always like, how do we find ways to create predictability, which in the restaurant space can be tough. The only thing that's predictable about the restaurant space here in Miami is when summer comes, everyone, it gets tough, right? Like it's really tough.
Yeah.
So how do we create some predictability around unpredictable situations? That's what we really want to do.
Yeah. Listen, just to hit that point for a second. Yeah. When things do slow down, is it better to have a database full of a whole bunch of customers or to not and rely on hope and luck and word of mouth? No, you'd rather have a database that you can go to and market to. I wanted to just finish that thought on the reservation aspect. And I really like what you're talking about because like a controlled experience that is emphasizing conversion. Like you click that reservation button, don't mess around with me. Don't try to do a million things. Like get the reservation, like seal the deal is a big deal. And I'm not putting anyone else down, but yeah, other platforms can have other goals. And if, the restaurant's goal is bam, get that reservation. And so maybe it sounds like you guys are a little bit more plugged into that mentally. So I like it. I want to ask you about this. Obviously, AI is this, AI is that. GPT, OpenAI going public, or wants to go like it's wild out there. But where's the hype and the reality? What do you think where things are today, and where they're going to be 6 months from now?
I have a mad obsession with AI. I mean, it's like it's hilarious because it's God, I don't even know where to begin. So think of it this way. There's levels to AI, right? We went from a world of Google search to prompting to getting AI to now do a specific task for you to now a world where AI can take over an entire job. Like it can literally be an employee, an agent, right? Now, I think for a lot of people that are first like looking into AI and how it can be effective, you want to think about what are the tasks that you're doing on a regular basis that are repeatable and manual. And I'd first try to think, okay, how can we use AI to just take over that job? So for example, I love personally using Claude. Claude's incredible. Within our platform, we have what's called an MCP. And an MCP is basically like, I'll try to not go too technical here, but an API, for example, is a connection between one software to another where they can send and receive data. An MCP is like an API, but it's a little bit deeper. So for example, with the Claude MCP into our platform, Dishio, you can literally ask Claude any question about your account and it'll feed exactly what's happening. So for example, I can say, hey, tell me about our sales today. and it'll tell you the sales because our platform is integrated to your point of sale. It's also integrated into Meta, Google, other ad platforms they're using. And so now I can ask Claude, tell me about my ad performance and how it correlated to my sales. And because I have your point of sale information, plus I have the ad information, I can now create this full story and I can ask AI. So I guess what I'm getting at is AI is as powerful as the data that you feed it, right? So a lot of people say, oh, I downloaded Claude and I tried it. It sucks. Well, yeah, it sucks. It's like, imagine like you hired an employee that has amazing marketing experience and you'd be like, here's my restaurant, market my brand. And maybe they have success the first month, maybe they won't. But ultimately, they need to learn the way that your restaurant does things. They need to understand how the restaurant operates, who are your customers, who they should be targeting. So there's a learning curve. Same thing with AI. You have to feed it the right data in order to get a good output. So what I say is, if you're getting started with AI and you're curious how to use it, what I love doing is Claude has these, it's called connectors. So you can connect your Claude account to multiple softwares, pretty much like anything at this point, which is really exciting. Connect your Claude account to all these different softwares that you might have. And then secondly, there's something called skills in Claude. And a skill is basically like a way that a job should be done a certain way. So for example, I'll give you a real simple one that's actually really interesting. So my assistant, her name's Anna. She writes emails to our investors twice a month on behalf of me. She also writes an email to all of our clients on behalf of me. And so for like 6 months when she took over and she started writing these emails, I was like, hey, I want you to try to speak more in my voice. And she's awesome, but she's not me. And right. So she was kind of struggling in this area. And so what I did is I took my Claude account. I had Claude do like deep research about me. It watched every single podcast I've ever been on. It watched every podcast I've ever done. It watched every single ad I've ever done. It learned how I speak. It then created a system like in a protocol of like, it's called Brett Voice Skill. I then gave that to Anna. Now when she writes emails for me, she runs it through the Brett Voice Skill and everything sounds exactly like me. So there's a lot of interesting ways that you can do things with AI, but it starts with feeding the right data, having your account understand the data, and then giving you better outputs because of that. I know that, again, I'm trying to be simple, but
I think you did good. I think you did good. You can obviously see super passionate obsession about it. We got a visitor in the show. Yep, there he is. There he or she is. Good to have them on.
That's people, my dog.
So yeah, no, you had good rundown there, and folks obviously aren't going to maybe jump in as deep as you just talked about, but yeah, it becomes a correlation of what you put in and what you get out, and it is starting to get kind of ridiculous in some of the things that it can do for you. The voice thing you just talked about is terrific. Ways you can save time, right? What are those things that a restaurant operator can save time with? Yeah, creating marketing copy. Absolutely. Once you even out of the gate, it's going to create stuff that's 90% ready to go. Creating a visual, it's got 90%. You're going to be happy with it. And sometimes 90% is fine. Move on. Like, just don't fuss any more than that.
I'll give you something that this is probably someone can listen to this and this will actually give them really good insights. Basically, again, you have to feed it the right data. You have to look at each individual restaurant. You have everything from fast food to QSRs to full service. Some restaurants, the majority of their customers come in through reservations. The majority of the customers are just walk-ins. There's a lot that makes every restaurant different. And so like within our platform, for example, our onboarding process, whether you worked with us, I'll tell you how it would be. But if you didn't, you create your own system around this. But basically how we do it is when we work with a client, we want to know average ticket, how many customers are typically getting per month, who are the type of customers they want to get, type of restaurant, whether it's QSR, fast food, full service, etc. What are the main revenue channels, as we call them? Do you do catering? Do you do online ordering, reservations, walk-ins, etc., private events? All the ways in which you can make money. We basically take all this and create like a digital model of everything about the restaurant, like the restaurant brain. We then feed that into our AI system. So when we create ads or create any campaign, it knows all of the inputs that it can use to create those campaigns. Now, what's really crazy, and this might shock some people, in the first week of working with us, we've already mapped out the entire year of their marketing promotions for the entire year.
Yeah.
Within the first week. So that's how we do it within our platform. We make it really easy to do. If you weren't working with us, you can simply go to your ChatGPT or Claude account. And a lot of people don't do this, but you should ask AI, I want to create a marketing strategy for my restaurant. Ask me a series of questions about my restaurant that you can then use to create this marketing strategy. And it will ask you, hey, what type of restaurant is it? What is your website? What are the ways you make money, etc.? And so it will start learning about your brand to then be able to give you a good answer and output. It's just we've made it very simple in our platform, right? That's what we did. Essentially.
The thing that you just hit on, using the technology to build a marketing calendar for a year.
Yeah.
Like the reason I want to come back to that for a second is a lot of restaurants, and me too, I'm guilty of this too. Oh shoot, I got to do a promotion this week. So we don't map things out too far ahead, and then you miss an opportunity. Like,
yeah,
I don't know when this is going to come out, but World Cup craze is going nuts right now. What if you missed that opportunity? What if you were blind to that, and your city is one of those host cities, like Boston was, and they're running out of beer because the Scotland fans are drinking them out. Like, you got to be ready for those opportunities. Mm-hmm. And so if you saw, I'm not saying people are missing the World Cup, but we miss opportunities all through, throughout our lives. Right. And so just putting stuff out there that's 6 months out, 12 months out, making you think about an advance. That's great. I'm just saying, like, strategically, forget about everything we just said, but plan ahead, have a longer term vision of it.
But people, honestly, they miss these events all the time. I mean, Father's Day last Sunday, we had so many clients that weren't prepared that that had just started with us. But guess what? The people that had been with us, we planned everything out way before. So we had some people that signed up like literally 3 days before Father's Day. They're like, oh my God, by the way, can you guys help us do this? We're like, dude, it's too late. Like there's 3 days to spare. Like, and the thing is, restaurant owners are busy people. They're doing a lot of different things at once. Like they shouldn't have to think through every single detail. They should be using AI or a platform like ours to help them do that. Right. I mean, it's not like every year is the holidays are the same holiday every single year. Right. There's of course certain events that pop up here and there, but essentially you should be planning out every single year in advance. You should. And if you're not, you're just not optimizing your restaurant or your marketing in the best way possible. You just aren't.
It's true. That's true. And sometimes we got to point the finger at or say, hey, we're not doing it. We're not doing it. We got to do a better job. Let's kind of stay where we are for a second with tech stuff. Where is stuff going to be in a year, 2 years, 3 years? Like what is this stuff is just keep changing. What are things going to look like?
Again, I think we're moving towards a world of hyper-personalization. So I think we're moving towards a world where basically you're going to go to a restaurant. I'm a big fan of digital menus because you can capture data, you can capture phone numbers, emails, etc. Like I like to digitize the physical experience if we can, right? Some brands don't like it, but the benefits are really great. I see a world where you show up to a restaurant and based on your visit behavior, based on your interests, your menu will be different than the person next to you. Same way that like your Instagram newsfeed is different from mine. It's an algorithm that feeds you content that it thinks you're going to like, right? Well, if I like steak, I should probably see steak on the top of the menu every time I go to the restaurant that has steak, right? I'm not a big fan of some other dishes, maybe like vegetarian dishes, right? So I probably shouldn't see those, right? Why are we still looking at the same menu every single time, right? On top of that, for example, and this will kind of maybe blow some people's minds. So we're also building a valet parking service within our platform. Okay. And so the model is going to work like this. So, actually, this will be the first time I'm sharing this online. so this would be really good. So what we're trying to build right now and what we will have live probably within the next 3 months is, think of a world where you go to a restaurant and you now have like a reputation there, right? This is Brett. He seems to be a great customer of ours. He shows up on time reservations.
Mhm.
He doesn't cancel last minute. Great. So now when Brett comes in, I show up to the restaurant. I go to valet my car. At the valet station, they collect my phone number. The valet now identifies this is Brett. He's a recent customer of ours, and we seem like we like him, right? He seems like a pretty good customer. Brett, thank you for coming today. By the way, for being such a great customer, valet is free on us today.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I walk up to the restaurant. I go to the front desk. The hostess says, "Welcome back, Brett." I don't even have to say my name because the valet is now connected to the reservation at the front, the hostess at the front.
Yep.
So they know I parked my car. They know I've arrived. I then sit at the table and they show me my favorite dish on the menu. It's a steak, the ribeye steak, 45-day aged. Great. Right? And so every aspect of the restaurant, from the ad that reached me to the valet, to the reservation, to the menu, they're all connected and they're all personalized to me.
Yeah.
And so it's a more seamless experience. It's personalized to me. It's customized to me. And so that's where we're moving towards. And so think about what I just said, that whole customer journey. And now think of the brands that don't have anything like that. Not even close. Well, the brands that have this tech are going to run circles around everyone else.
Yeah. Where are you gonna refer to go?
Yeah. You know what I mean? I mean, that's just what's going to happen. Like, that is where we are moving. I mean, it's crazy to say this too, but I think we're probably 3 or 4 years out, where I'm sure you've seen some of the new tech that, like, all these brands are coming out with, these smart glasses, right? These Meta smart glasses. The Snapchat just launched a pair of these things. Like, I think in 3 to 4 years, maybe 4 to 5 years, everyone's going to be wearing these smart glasses with these literal screens in them. You're going to walk into a restaurant. You just simply look down at the table and you'll be able to swipe through different dishes right in front of you.
Yeah.
And just see it.
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds kind of scary and kind of weird, but that's totally a possibility.
It is. And it is. I can see it. And if not, it's definitely going to be at a movie soon at a theater near you.
Yeah, probably.
Definitely. Hey, since we're kind of in kind of tech that's a little bit out there, hotels do it, airlines do it, car people do it, dynamic pricing. Like, it's really, restaurants are starting to think about it and play with it. Have you seen anyone utilize it yet? Or what are your thoughts on dynamic pricing? Because you literally, especially with the digital menu, can have a different price, different day parts, different customers.
So I would like to see brands doing it, because I think they should in certain situations. Like here in Miami, again, for example, like F1 weekend. Oh my God, it's crazy. Every year it's insane. Every restaurant's packed. Sure. Like, they should be able to charge a little bit more on these really high demand weekends, right? I think personally. But I've never seen a brand do it yet, to be honest. I haven't. And it's something that we really want to offer our clients at some point within our platform. It's not a possibility yet. It's something that I think we have to see a little bit more of an appetite for it before we would build it. Because I'm always, the way I build is I'm not trying to just build what I think sounds cool. I want my clients to get that feedback to me, and I will build for them. That's how I build, right? And so I haven't seen a strong appetite for it yet. I think at some point it's a strong possibility. But what I will say is, like, going back to reservations, what we will do is, when you mentioned, like, if you're booking a flight, when you book a flight, you choose also the seat that you're going to sit on the plane, right? We're launching the same tech through our reservation system. Yeah, I like it. Where what we do is kind of cool. And this is the one thing I'll leave you with till on reservations, then I'll shut up about it. But basically, reservation platforms, if you look at it, they're all the same. Let's speak about 7 rooms. If I want to make a reservation, I go on a 7 rooms reservation page. I select the date I want to go, the party size and the time, and then I put in my information. We're flipping it. So when you go to book a reservation on our system, we actually collect your phone number up front. We customer profile you, and then we allow you to book a table. So for example, if someone's just a really terrible customer, they make reservations all the time, they never show up, we're probably not going to show tables available to you, because we just don't want you there. If you're a great customer, you're not only going to have the availability to to book a table, but you're also going to have literally a map view of the restaurant to decide on where you want to sit, essentially. So
And I'm just curious. I mean, maybe I know the answer, maybe I don't, but just like in the airlines, this seat is $10 more than that seat. Like
bingo,
you can go there. Yeah.
that's what we're
Yeah.
doing.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And it's not anything that people don't already know. There are better seats in your restaurant. Every restaurant has them, whether it's the window facing the bay, whether it's facing the golf course view versus the seat that's by the kitchen. Should I pay more or should I pay the same for the kitchen seat next to the bathroom or the one facing the ocean? And there's no distinguishment other
Yeah,
than, maybe, old school, give the guy a 20 and get the better seat. But like literally you get sat where you sat. And airlines again have done this to perfection. Like you want to sit in
exactly.
that better, you want more legroom, $28. Click, people buy it. So yeah, and is that all profit? That is 100% profit.
Exactly. So I think dynamic pricing, like we'll see. I think in time it will happen, but the appetite there isn't quite yet. But I'd like to find other unique ways to help brands make more money in like the ways we just discussed, right? Like that would be a strong possibility.
Yeah, I think it's probably coming. I think mentally, because it hasn't happened yet, people are like, "What do you mean you're charging me more than them over there?" Or what? Why is the steak different on Thursday versus Monday versus busy Saturday night? It probably should be a different price on Saturday night than it is on Monday night. Like it
Hmm.
just should be, right? The experience is different, and people are willing to pay more on Saturday night versus Monday night, and so give them the choice. So once it becomes normalized, and you say, well, you pay a different price for that hotel room than someone else, and and the Uber, right?
Yeah.
And since we're in World Cup mode, like how crazy have those tickets got? Like people will surge for their own emotional reasons and pay $3,000 for nosebleed seats, to watch the World Cup or watch the Knicks win. God forbid that they did that, but they did. And
Exactly.
so people will pay what they want to pay. And so sometimes you need to give them the options to do that. And not every restaurant has the premium environment to do that, but more and more places do. And it's a great revenue source. So kind of going off the realm there, but we asked about future topics. And so those are some things that could be coming. I could ask you a million other questions. What did we not hit? What do restaurants do specifically? I want to go back to independence because that's a big part of our audience. They are fragmented. They don't have a lot of dollars. What does it look like when you work with independents?
So I would say, I mean, majority of our clients actually are independent restaurants, like 1 to 3 locations, let's just say.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's the bulk of the industry, right? Like that
Mm-hmm.
is the bulk. I think specifically when we're looking at a client, it's all about reverse engineering. What is the goal, right? So if a brand is doing 100,000 a month and they want to go to 200,000 a month, first of all, what's their average ticket? Okay, and then how many customers do I need to get to that goal, right? And everything we do is about that. I don't even like telling people that we're like a marketing company. I really like to refer us to more so as like a customer acquisition and retention company,
Mm-hmm.
because marketing is only the articulation of what makes your product or service good. Acquisition is like, I actually got someone to come in store, right? So there's a big difference, right? The big thing with us is it's been really interesting. So we just raised 2.5 million earlier this year at a 20 mil valuation, and
Good.
I'm super excited about it. But we had never raised money before, so it was like a brand new thing for us. I was, I had no idea what I was doing in the beginning of the process, but I learned a ton going through this. And one thing investors were really scared about with us is they were like, well, what's going to happen in this like AI world where anybody can create a software company just through like prompting Claude?
Sure.
And the reality is it did pose a really big challenge for us raising money. I think we're entering a world now where you're going to see, and we really are, technically speaking, more of like a tech-enabled agency,
Sure.
right? At this point, I think the beauty of that is there's a wide range of possibilities to work with us. Generally speaking, what we recommend brands in the beginning is give us at least 6 months to like work with us directly. But after those 6 months, if you feel comfortable using the platform alone and you want to do this on your own, it's significantly cheaper to just use our software on your own. But the big thing is the education layer. So, a lot of restaurant owners, probably things I'm talking about on this podcast, they're thinking, oh my God, this sounds so crazy and complex. Like, how could I ever do that? The answer is work with us for 6 months. We'll show you how to do it. And then you can feel comfortable doing it on your own, right? One thing I've really, really tried to do within our platform is if you're going to go to Meta or Google and go on their platform and run ads and you've never done this before, dude, it's going to be tough.
It would be.
It's really tough. But within our platform, you're going to be able to do that on your own. So we make it very simple. And so I that is my big goal is how do I take super complex systems and strategies and just simplify them so that anyone with zero marketing experience can have success. That's my goal is how do we get to that point? And as far as budgets, the beauty of advertising is spend as little or as much as you want, right? Spend a small budget, gain some confidence it's actually working for you, and then start scaling it slowly only when you feel comfortable. You don't have to come in spending thousands of dollars a month on marketing to start. You can start small, a couple $100 a month if you really wanted to.
Yeah, you could definitely start
You know
small.
what I mean?
It was, and not that it was ever easy to run ads on those platforms yourself, but it's become, because of the different options and settings, it's much more difficult these days to, to do that yourself.
It is.
Talk about, let's kind of walk away and flip it a little bit to the entrepreneur side. You're running a company that is growing in a hot space. What has been a challenge that you didn't expect to encounter that you guys are pushing through as you're trying to grow, and now you've raised money? So, hey, there's pressure. You're getting that call. Hey, are we growing? Are you growing? Are you growing? Are you growing? What's it feel like?
The market has changed a lot. So it's crazy. Like I've never really done a ton of like in-person events for our company. Like I know a lot of people like going to these trade shows like NRA, etc.
Yeah.
We actually went to NRA for the first time last year ever. Like we'd never had done it for 11 years in business.
Yeah.
And it was actually really cool how many people recognized my partner and I at this event. And the reason a lot of people know us is because we've run like so many ads over the years. I mean, again, we're spending about, just over $1 million a year on advertising for our company.
Right. Wow.
Big budget for that for our size. And, it was exciting to see people recognize us. But I will say this also, when it comes to the marketing landscape in this industry, everyone is now talking about marketing, where 3-4 years ago, it wasn't actually, I don't know, there weren't as many companies trying to do what we're doing. Now it seems like there's a ton more. And the thing about marketing in this space is the only thing that truly matters is, can I see that I spent money and it actually got me a customer? And I think a lot of people are being sold on views and clicks and all these things that honestly, like, I won't say don't matter, but unless you can prove it actually worked, it's tough to be a restaurant owner on razor thin margins, spending $1,000s a month and just hoping something worked. Like you need a tangible result, right? And so I will say, I feel like because a lot of these companies have come out and have preached about all these things they're doing without really any proven success, I feel like there's a little bit of distrust in the market for overall marketing companies, if that makes sense.
Yep.
Like it just seems like everyone's preaching about this, but not a lot of people actually can prove results. And that's tough. We felt that a lot. Like we'll talk to a lead that's interested in and they'll have 4 other companies they spoke to that said that they can do something similar, and they just can't. I mean, it's a technology component. Like they do not have the ability, and I don't know. That has been really interesting for me to see.
Somebody said it better, but just going back to what you said, you can't take likes to the bank or whatever. I mean, like it doesn't translate to dollars. And so you do have to translate what you're doing to revenue at the restaurant, which you already hit on and we hit on in our webinars and our website. Like it's a tough business. end of
Yeah.
story, period. Margins are thin. Like there's no real room to waste money and have things not work out. But last thing I'll kind of hit is your podcast. You got the sign up there in the
Oh
back.
yeah.
You've interviewed lots of folks over time. What are you hearing from your audience and your guests that is kind of a trend that is a challenge, or some of those big pain points in the industry? What would you say?
So, well, a lot of it depends on also which state the restaurant owner's operating in. Right?
Sure.
So, for example, like if you're a restaurant owner operating in California, well, there's some hiring practices in California which are just kind of brutal to work with. Like, raising minimum wages, all these things not so favorable for the brand. There's those challenges. I think marketing has always been a challenge for a lot of brands. I interviewed recently Craig from Craig's. It's a really, really famous restaurant in West Hollywood in California, and he also just opened a second location in Nashville.
Mhm.
And I loved this interview with him because he was telling me, I asked him the same question actually, and he said there's not enough restaurant owners that are truly creating a hospitality experience for their guests. He's like, I feel like the industry has kind of forgotten these, you could say, old school practices, but those old school practices need to stay. Like the way that you make, he said this, which is really interesting to me. He goes, I can train, you can give a customer a cocktail and just give it to them, right? Or you can give it to them in a way that makes them feel a certain way, right? And there's a distinct difference, right? And he says it feels a little bit like we've gone towards this like transaction economy versus like a relationship economy, which is what the restaurant space should be about, right? It's about creating relationships where we've gotten so hung up in this transaction world where, oh, Uber Eats order here, like, oh, transaction here, like let's just get as many customers in and out, like, and that is kind of killing the owners who are so focused on transactions versus relationships. And it's something I know we've all heard before, but it was, I don't know, it was interesting to hear from his perspective. And I really like what he said. I'm reading this book right now. You've probably seen it, Unreasonable Hospitality.
Yeah, it's back here. It's super.
So good.
So good.
And I just think every restaurant owner, if you haven't read this book, you need to read this book because it has so many good points that the author makes in this. And I just think we've kind of gone away from that a little bit. And I'm like the high tech guy who's pushing a lot of transactions, and I'm saying we need to bring hospitality back. We need to make hospitality again. You know what I mean?
It is 100% a super easy read, like absolute, like I ask people a lot on the podcast for book recommendations, and that book probably has come up more than any other book.
Yes.
Again, what's the author? You have it right in front of you, but Will Guidara, Unreasonable Hospitality. Absolutely pick that up. Under $20 probably at Amazon. Could be the best $20 you spend for your business. You'll get lots of tips there for sure. Hey, last question I want to ask you, because we chatted about it briefly before we got on. You've spent some time in Brazil. I think you said your wife is from down there. Hospitality can be different in different parts of the country. Anything you pick up on when you've traveled there that the American audience could bring?
Yeah. So, man, Brazilians operate so differently from Americans in the hospitality space. It's crazy. So I'll just say this, and this is kind of a lot to say about it, but I'll try to keep it quick. So my entire idea about Dishio came about while I was on a date with my wife down in Brazil.
Yeah.
And it was interesting. I was at a restaurant. I scanned there was a QR code menu. A lot of restaurants use QR code menus down there because the benefit of QR code menus too is you can have multiple languages, right?
Absolutely.
So it's really nice. And what used to happen is you click the menu, you choose your menu, great. But at this particular restaurant in Brazil, I scanned the menu. I'm in São Paulo, and the menu just automatically pops up in English. And I was like, that's really slick. I asked the waiter, how'd you guys do that? That's so cool. He goes, the menu is smart. It knows the settings in your phone are in English, and so it defaults to English. And so it was in that moment I thought, well, if they can know that about me, what else can they know about me? And so that's what got us on this whole, build to create Dishio. But what's also really interesting is a lot of Brazilian restaurants, they like to use their Instagram page for visuals of their food to actually, when customers come in, a lot of the waiters speak to their page and show them some of these photos.
Yeah.
So that's super common. The other thing Brazilians do is, it's funny, they literally don't use Google search for finding restaurants. It's just not a thing, like at all.
Really?
Like not at all. So Americans are always looking like the Google My Business. We're trying to look at the reviews, check it out. Brazilians just simply don't use Google the same way that we do for finding like local businesses. So Instagram is become the default for finding restaurants. TikTok too is pretty big, but those are the core differences essentially.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. The language thing is great. We just did a family trip to Europe and I thought they did do a good job. We had a number of places that had the QR code and looking at a menu in not your language is a very frustrating experience. Just period, end of story. And even restaurants here in the US, like just pop a QR code that has it at least in Spanish. Maybe a couple other languages. Pretty simple process for you to do, especially these days, and your audience will appreciate it. And believe me, it's especially internationally, it's a big deal. So I appreciated that. All right, so hit them. We covered a lot. Hit them with the website, call to actions, the podcast, anything else, your socials. What do you got?
So our website is just dish.io. We also, our agency website, so not to get too complicated again, but basically our main company is called Dishio Holdings. Under Dishio Holdings, our software is Dishio and our agency is called Dineline, which is just DINELINE.co. So feel free to check out either website. My Instagram is just at Brett Linkletter. It's my full name here. I post a lot about AI, talk a lot about restaurant marketing practices. And then our socials for each brand is just Get Dishio, at Get Dishio, and Dineline Co. So a lot of good links there to check out. Our YouTube, by the way, is also really cool. You can just search Dineline on YouTube. We post actually a lot of videos about what we're doing. If you want like really deep strategy and you're willing to put in like 20 minutes on some of these videos, like you'll learn a lot. And that's just free content we just give out on a regular basis. Okay. Yeah, a lot of good stuff there.
And the podcast name, Restaurant Misfits?
Restaurant Misfits. Yeah, Instagram is just at Restaurant Misfits. If you search restaurantmisfits.com, you can check us out too.
Good. All right. Lots of stuff there. We covered a lot, folks. Brett Linkletter of Dishio. You can find them on the web at, I know, dish.io, dineline.co, restaurantmisfits.com. Lots of great stuff there. For more restaurant marketing, service people, and tech tips, stay tuned to us here at runningrestaurants.com. In the meantime, do me a big favor. Take a second, hit the like button, hit the subscribe, do a follow, do a review. That stuff just takes a second, but it's super much appreciated on our side. So I appreciate that. All right, folks, we'll see you next time. Thanks, Brett.
Thanks, Jamie. Chat soon.